Hey everyone, Dr. Steve here once again with what I believe is the single most important lesson that you can learn in your life. And if that sounds too good to be true, I know, it does. But it is. And so as not to keep you in suspense, this lesson is about how to instantly dissolve any negative emotion. Okay, maybe not instantly, but fast. Much faster than you ever dissolved it, much faster than you probably ever thought possible. But before we go into that, I want you to ask yourself a question. What am I doing right now in my life that's giving me a consistent feeling of inner well-being? How am I using that well-being to serve humanity? You know, we are at an unprecedented time in our history. Some say that we're on the brink of destruction. I don't believe that. I think we're on the brink of a breakthrough. But that breakthrough has to happen with each individual. And the collective grassroots movement of increased consciousness will force our governments and our schools and our other institutions to transform. We need for that to happen. That's why I've been very proud to be part of that evolution in consciousness for the last 25 years and to teach tens of thousands of people how to live awakened lives. That's why nothing is more important to me than knowing that I'm awakening people all over the globe to a new paradigm. You know, when people like Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield or Nikki Keohou or Bob Berg stand up and say some of the things that they've said about me, it makes me feel like I'm on the right track and that the materials I share in my mindful selling and leadership programs are literally changing the world. Our programs are the most comprehensive programs for bringing consciousness to your work and into other areas of your life. For example, the upcoming home study course, Procrastination Annihilation, where we talk about strategies to get you in action and stay in action no matter how you feel. We talk about how to organize yourself for maximum efficiency. We talk about how to fit spiritual practices into your day-to-day life and how to use those tools to make the most of every opportunity and give every single thing that I know that I've learned over 25 years about how to get over procrastination, self-sabotage, depression, anxiety, self-doubt, and actually become a highly productive person making a difference for others coming from the heart. You know, when I see pictures of me with movie stars and gurus and the Dalai Lama and all these important people, I read the things that these people have said about me. I can't believe they're talking about me because I had a hard time growing up. I was depressed. I was anxious. I felt terrible about myself. But looking back on it, I can see how a lot of the stuff that actually formed me and made me who I am and gave me the humor and the appreciation and the clarity that's brought me to where I am is that part of my life, that suffering. That's true of you as well. I don't care how beaten down you might feel. There are incredible gifts in your most difficult moments. And when you embrace that, you show up with more light and enthusiasm and fun, and people respond to that. And all I can tell you is that the transformation available in your life is beyond your imagination. So if you want to make that leap, just know that it's there for you. You can do it. That's what I did. I was willing to invest myself, invest my time, my money in the journey, and think that's what it takes. Even if you watch all these videos and you say to yourself, I'm not sure that I want to take Steve's course, find something you're willing to invest in and do it. Don't wait until you have the money or the time or the skills or the knowledge to get the money or the time or the skills or the knowledge. It doesn't work that way. You know, I got a lot of questions and comments from our last video, and I've tried to reach out to everyone with my answers because I'm committed to your growth. And I hope you can see that I over-deliver, that I am, without a doubt, one of the most accessible people in the industry at my level. So feel free to reach out to me if you want, and I hope to see you at one of our upcoming courses. More on that later. Okay, back to the lesson. Why do I say that this is the most important lesson you can ever learn? Because right now, you, and I mean this with true love and compassion, are a slave to your emotions. They own you. For most of your life, you've been running toward positive emotions and away from negative ones. So anything that evoked a negative emotion was deemed as bad, and anything that evoked a positive emotion was deemed as good. People who annoyed you or aggravated you were bad, and those that loved and praised you were good. And this is also true of situations as well as people. The situations that made you feel sad or scared or bored were bad. The ones that made you feel excited and happy were good. So you've been avoiding circumstances that feel uncomfortable. Well, so what? What's wrong with that? Well, nothing if you want to live a really small life, an unrewarding life, and you're okay about avoiding people and circumstances. Because people and situations have a tendency to throw us off balance, to irritate us, to challenge us, to hurt us, and to scare us. And certainly, One way to get around that is just avoid them. But that's a fairly depressing proposition. On the other hand, willingly walking into uncomfortable situations seems a little, well, dumb. And I know you've heard people talking about getting outside your comfort zone. But let's be real. You don't want to do that, right? You know, the number one concern I hear from my coaching clients is, I'm afraid to call people. I'm afraid to approach people. I'm afraid to talk about my business. I'm afraid people will be offended. I'm afraid I'll seem pushy. I'm afraid. And the implication is that fear is a valid reason not to do something. In other words, people don't question the notion that their emotions can have dominion over them. They live their lives doing their emotions' bidding. They follow what their emotions tell them to do. If you go up to that stranger and start a conversation, I'm going to zap you with fear hormones, and you're going to come running back like a whipped puppy. And of course, those of us who want to grow get very frustrated with the power that our emotions have over us. And we get really angry at ourselves for having them. And in case you haven't noticed, that doesn't help. It's just another way of letting your mind stay in charge. First, your mind generates fear, probably because of some old mental program that made you think this is a situation that's really dangerous. And then that same mind generated anger for you being afraid. And when you think about it, it's pretty crazy on your mind's part, right? Or pretty crafty on your mind's part, because first it makes you afraid, and then it makes you angry about being afraid, and then for good measure, it makes you ashamed of being angry, of being afraid. And essentially, your mind has run you in circles, trying to solve a problem that it has caused. Luckily, there is another way to approach this entire problem. And when you learn this method, you'll stop getting angry at yourself for having emotions. Instead, you'll see them dissolve. And as they do, you're going to regain your power. And what that means, in terms of your business, is that you'll feel your fear, you'll dissolve your fear, you'll act in spite of your fear. Then you'll be able to approach the people you need to approach, have the conversations you need to have, feel good about yourself, and in general have less stress in your life. It all starts with a deeper level of understanding of something that we've already talked about. So you might remember that the roadmap for overcoming addictive automatic behaviors involves 3 parts: living a good life, improving your ability to focus, and gaining wisdom. In our last lesson, we talked about how to strengthen your focus. In this lesson, we'll see how you can use that new skill to gain wisdom. You'll see how running from your emotions doesn't work, and you'll learn how to embrace your emotions so they lose power to dominate you and your choices. Now, before we go through those steps to learn the technique, there's a really important quote you're going to want to memorize, and it goes like this: "What you resist persists." So, as long as you try to stop yourself from feeling something, it's going to continue to exist. When you allow that same thing to exist, it leaves. It seems kind of dumb, but that's how it works. And if you think about it, that's how most things work. If you're in a fight and you keep defending yourself, the other person keeps fighting back. If you lean against someone, they'll lean against you, and they won't stop until you stand up on your own 2 feet. There are a lot of examples of this principle in nature, but for now, trust that the idea is sound. You need to stop resisting if you want things to go away. Now, when it comes to emotions, what do we do that fits into the category of resistance? Well, this is going to seem really strange, but the way that we resist our emotions is by thinking about them. That's it. If you're scared or you're angry and you start to churn those feelings, you're trying to figure out why you feel that way or how to convince someone else to back down or whatever, you're essentially resisting the feelings you're having by trying to use your head to work out an exit strategy. But emotions are like bonfires. Thoughts are like logs. Every time you add a thought to the emotion, you throw a log on the fire, and the fire never goes out. If, on the other hand, you stop thinking about it, the emotion dissolves. It needs thought to persist, and thought is resistance. So you can see why what you resist persists. Let's look at this new way to approach our emotions, a new way to gain freedom and claim our power, to sell or lead or influence or do whatever we're compelled to do with consciousness. And it goes like this. Step 1, catch yourself being upset. That's the first step, because we're usually so busy being upset that we fail to notice that we are upset. Notice it, acknowledge it, own it. Second, as gracefully as possible, remove yourself from the situation. Whatever situation caused you to be upset. Eventually, you won't have to do this part because you'll become a ninja of emotional dissolution. But for now, get some space to do this. Third, imagine that there was nothing that caused the feeling. Nobody said a harsh word to you. You weren't putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation. You didn't have to make a presentation. Whatever. For the purposes of this process, imagine someone injected it into you, that feeling, with a hypodermic needle. Fourth, start to study where you feel those feelings in your body. Breathe into it. Don't resist it. Soften to it. Allow yourself to touch it from every angle. Become fascinated by it. Even open to the possibility of enjoying the various components of the feeling. Fifth, notice how the sensations begin to shift and move and change. Notice if some of the places that were painful in your body actually begin to feel pleasurable. Imagine that the hard areas are like ice cubes in warm water, and your attention is what's heating the water. The more you apply your attention, the more the ice melts, and the more you're bathed in a pleasant feeling of warmth. Keep breathing into the feelings and allowing yourselves to explore what they feel like and how they change. And finally, bring your attention back to the triggering event, whatever caused the feeling in the first place, and see if you see it differently. If not, go back and do it again. Eventually, this process will work, and usually more quickly than you've ever thought possible. So there are a few things to be aware of. First, the more regularly you practice meditation, the more effectively you're going to be able to do this. Keep at it. Second, if you can't get out of your thought loop in order to do this, it means you're just not emotionally strong enough yet for the situation that triggered the emotion. That's good information. You should always know what your limits are so you can avoid getting into situations you can't handle. Third, think of the triggering situation as an opportunity to discover your addictions and to use this process to strengthen your mind. In fact, here's an affirmation worth memorizing. This comes from Ken Kai's Handbook to Higher Consciousness. And he says, "I welcome the opportunity, even if painful, that my minute-to-minute experience offers me to become aware of the addictions I need to reprogram in order to be liberated from my robot-like emotional patterns." In other words, every upset is actually a chance to practice the powerful mindfulness exercises. And every time you do, you get closer to a clear and untroubled mind. And in that light, your triggers are actually doing you a favor. How could all of this work in your business? Well, it's great for conquering fear. Becoming extremely present to your feelings. The feelings in your body can completely vanish fear. And you'll find yourself having courage you didn't know you had. You'll be able to prospect leads. You'll be able to sell, enroll, and all of the various activities of your business with a clear mind and a feeling of inner peace. You see, you'll find that your business can thrive and you can enjoy greater happiness. Once you've released fear and other negative emotions, you're going to have a sense of freedom that you've never had before, and life becomes a whole lot more interesting. So, in the final video of our series, I'm going to share with you about the tools to bring mindfulness lessons to the challenges of overcoming procrastination and staying in action. To be effective in life, you need to be able to spot your habitual thinking patterns. You need to be able to identify which of the 8 forms of procrastination you have, and you need a strategy for each. If you don't know any of that stuff and you want to get started understanding and how to get things done, you have to learn it. You don't have to enroll in my presentation, Procrastination Annihilation course, or any of those courses. You can read a bunch of books, find a mentor, but take action now. That's how change happens. It's all about continuous learning. I still attend seminars, I still take notes, I still invest in myself, and guess what? So do all the other gurus in the industry. In the meantime, continue to practice your meditation, your daily 8, and to dissolve your emotions when they come up. I know you are going to see remarkable changes in your life as you continue on this journey. And the deeper you go, the more profound the change is. And I look forward to hearing all about how these lessons have helped you. In a subsequent video, I want to tell you how you can enroll in the Procrastination Annihilation program coming up soon. This material has made a huge difference in so many lives. In the meantime, go back, listen to this again, comment below, stay in action, commit to making your life and the lives of others better. Life is about growing and giving. Don't stop. You have a gift waiting to be unleashed. Don't die with the music still inside of you. Make it happen. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you soon.